everybody. This is going to be a video just going over some information regarding getting started in rating. I've noticed that some people we have a large disparity between very veteran raters in the guild and new people. So I wanted to take a little bit of time and put some stuff together here so that way you can see different things over the next few weeks. I'll be putting together several different videos of different things that you can do, getting going into rating, things that'll help you with rating, just all around general things that I wanted to make sure that everybody knew was available, things that I wish I knew when I was starting rating, lots of things that I picked up along the way. So without further ado, I just wanted to get started. Um, the first thing I'm going to go over, first two things really, in my opinion, kind of the center stones for getting started in rating is having a good UI setup and having just some good add-ons. And the first part of it, regarding your UI is just a very important part because you just need to be able to see things, clearly. You need to know where everything's at, know what you're doing. So um, we'll get started with the UI first. If you see here on my UI, I'm going to go in here and kind of give a basic layout of how it looks like in a raid fight. But when I'm looking in here, and just about anybody, whenever we're looking at the actual screen, our eyes just naturally tend to go to the center of the screen. So that's kind of where we want to base everything that we're doing going around that. Now, I'm not saying clutter your screens, clutter your center of your screen, because you need to be able to see your stuff, see what pools are in the ground and so forth. But you want to have a general idea of moving around from the center of everything that you have going. So if you notice here, I'm just throwing up some test items here. But if I were in a raid fight right now, this is kind of like what I would be seeing. I'd have myself, of course, in the center, so I can still see anything, but I've got my boss timers letting me know when any immediate item is coming in. Any further boss abilities that take longer will be over here, but my immediate ones are going to pop back up right there. I'm pulling that back up again. So the most, or the closest rather, abilities about to happen, I can see immediately right here on a countdown. Any information regarding people who have certain, power of certain, different boss mechanics, and range check if a specific mechanic requires range. But all those things are kind of very close right there, just off centered from the screen. You'll see here I have my health, my target, and my target of target will all be here, basically generalized, everything more centered. I have my weak auras that let me know when my certain abilities are back off a cooldown, and helps me track different things, let me know when I can use something. And then I have my frames, which I use Healbot for my actual frames, and depending on the raid size I will adjust different bar sizes. So that's kind of how it'll look, if I'm in a group. If I go up to a 25, a little bit smaller, but basically have all my setup. But for the most part, everything that I'm doing is kind of right here in this section. So naturally I can see what happens. Another thing is your debuffs. Or the default Blizzard UI will have your debuffs up here. Um, I've got it to where they come up essentially right here. So that way you have to know when you have a specific debuff on a boss mechanic. If you have that debuff going, right now that's just my forbearance from my popping my bubble, but you'll see that all my debuffs will come up here if I have debuffs. And again, it's just more centralized, looking at the screen, being able to see things very quickly without having to, look way over here, look way over here, so forth. I mean, the default Blizzard UI, if I recall, puts your health and your target way up here on the top left, and it's just a bad setup on there. So really, whatever UI add-on you use, prefer to use, we'll go into some add-ons later. But whatever you choose to use, when you're setting up your UI, this is this is kind of what you want to focus on, is centralizing things so that way you can see them quickly. It's just, I can't stress just how important it is to know everything that you have going on at a quick glance while you're in the raid. And this is just, kind of a template, so to speak. I'm not telling you to do things exactly how I have it. I'm sure I have plenty of work to do on mine as well, but this is going to be a general idea of just some good practices to get started. Alright, so getting going with the add-on section. Again, regarding different add-ons, there's your required add-ons, and there's your better add-ons, quality of life, so to speak. Um, First and most importantly is, if you're going to be raiding, you're going to need a boss mod. So either deadly boss mods or big wigs, either or, but I would recommend deadly boss mods getting started on there. There's more information on there. Also, it syncs across the raid a little bit better. But in regard to raiding, you do need to have a boss mod letting you know when those abilities are coming in. It's just really important. So again, just like I mentioned with the UI, you can put it or put the bars there. Allows you to customize the size by default. These bars are much smaller. They're in different spots. All these things are much smaller, so it allows me to make them a little larger, see the name of the ability, the timer. These are things that I just like about Deadly Boss Mod, that allows me to help make things a little bit better in regard to uh, managing and dealing with those boss mechanics. Weak Auras is another add-on. You see I've got a ton in there, but these are used to do a multitude of things. This add-on is very, very powerful. Not only will it allow you to track, like as you see here, I have just different weak auras that track when I have a proc of something, when a certain ability is available off a cooldown, how much time is left on a certain ability, so forth, in regard to tracking your abilities. And I can also track if I have a buff or a debuff. Do I want that debuff to come up at a certain time, whether I have a certain amount of stacks of it? So it just lets me know. I can pretty much make a weak aura for just about anything. But also, in regard to boss mechanics, this is the main reason why it's considered a required add-on, is because there are weak auras that can be made to inform you with specific mechanics that sometimes a boss mod, like deadly boss mods or big wigs, won't be able to assign for you. So the biggest example that I can give for this would be on Fate Scribe, on Heroic Fate Scribe. When we are progressing on Heroic Fate Scribe, only certain people can do the rings, can go run around and do the rings. And in that fight there, if we all have this weak aura, then it will basically give you an assigned marker from the markers that we'll have laid out on the actual floor for the rings, and so that will let you know which ring you need to go and manage on there. So that's just an example, but several different abilities that can be handled with weak auras. If we're doing Painsmith, then we have a weak aura that will put a highlight around the bar of the the actual ball that we need to kill. Again, just very important. So deadly boss mods, you want to have that. Weak auras, you want to have that. Those are just really, really key add-ons there to have. I have several different additional add-ons. So I'm not telling everybody to go through and get all these things, but um, one huge add-on for me that that I just prefer using is called GSE. It just allows me to be able to keep my bars a little bit easier. You can mess around with it, but it's more complex macros, so to speak. And I use a lot of macros, so I would suggest looking into, you know, how you can set up different things with macros for your class and spec, and lots of guides have those things. But um, this GSE allows me to basically bind several buttons to one macro. Now, certain things you don't want to do like that, but I can use essentially one button to spam through, not pressing one button one time and doing multiple abilities. That's like a that you can't do that. But if I press the button one time, it'll do one ability. If I press the button again, it'll do another ability based off of, what's on cooldown and available. So that's something for another video and a later time, but just throwing it out there, just giving a quick overview of it. If my Shield of the Righteous is available to be used, it's going to use it. If my wings are available to be used, it'll be used. Judgment, Consecrate, so forth. So those are, again, a more detailed version of that later, but that's an add-on there. Healbot, I mentioned earlier that I use Healbot to basically handle my frames. So if I click on the frame there, it'll bring up my target. I click out, click on that frame to bring up a target. But also if I want to heal that person, all my buttons are bound to it. I can bop them. So all these things that are, different abilities that I can use on the fly, instead of just having regular frames and having to make mouse over macros, I just use Healbot to handle my frames, and then if I have an ability that I can use on a party member, I go in there, I bind it to whatever button, and it allows me to do those things. Decursive, more of a healer thing, but good for any class. Most classes have some sort of dispel or, curse. They just, healers can do the magic as well. But if you have that, it's just going to put a little bar. You can handle this through Healbot, and I have it set both ways. So with Healbot, I can go in and dispel anytime as well. And that's for more specific dispels. If I need to dispel a specific person first, and then another person later, I would specifically do it from Healbot. But if I'm just trying to get the spells out quick, this decursive will set up a number of little boxes here for however many people are in the raid, and it'll just light up. I click on the box, they're dispelled. That's it. Um, this loadouts is a personal preference thing. I set up different versions of each spec, so it'll let me flip through my bars and abilities and talents very quickly. So right now I have my, Prop Pally Mythic Plus build going. But if I'm going to go into raid, then some of my talents change. So I will, click on that, and I'll use those different talents and a couple different. Most of my bars stay pretty static from build to build. I try to have the same type of buttons in the same place, but it'll adjust some of the different things on my bars. So again, personal preference add-on. It changes your talents, your bar setup, everything to how you want for a specific playstyle. If you want an AoE centric build, you have one. If you want a single target centric build, you have another, and so forth. PvP, for several of you people that like the PvP, you can have one build for, raiding, and one build for PvP of the same spec. Details is basically the bar, the DPS meter. So you can use that now. It's the DPS meter for most. There is a lot of additional information and details that you can find out, and it's the main reason why I like using details above all, because you can see how many interrupts are done by people, if a specific boss mechanic has ads, and I want to see who's doing most damage to a specific ad, I can pull that up and look and see who's attacking ads and who's slacking. So details is a good little tool there. But again, if you're just wanting to see your DPS and your healing done, those things, it handles that. But you can also, there's several different options out there as well. SCADA or Recount, they're all fine. SCADA, I believe, is the most lightweight in regard to computer usage. Over here, Mythic Dungeon Tools is another add-on just for Mythic Plus. It lets you set up a route on there and you know where you're going to go before you go do it. Very helpful for pushing big keys. Simcraft, I strongly suggest people to get this add-on. It just allows you to make your gear decisions. You know, if you're trying to compare whether one trinket's better than the other, it'll just give you a copy of basically a sim program that you can copy and paste into the Raidbot's website, and that will allow you to compare your stuff. And that's a recruiting thing that I use. And this is another really good add-on to have, especially if we can get everybody in the raid to have. It'll sync things for us, help with doing things, but this isn't required. It's just really nice. It has a lot of different tools in there, and if you want to see who has what cooldowns available, so forth, you can make different bars for that. So that's pretty much it for this first video. I just wanted to go over those basic things, touch base really on UI setup and having those required add-ons, and then setting up those add-ons and different add-ons like I mentioned in here. If you end up wanting to use some, or curious about some things, let me know. I can go over with you, and then as the weeks go, I'll make some more detailed videos on certain specific add-ons, setting some stuff up, how to use them. But really getting your UI and getting those basic add-ons, those required add-ons, those that boss mod and your weak aura set up to have things where you need to have them, really important. So thanks guys, and catch you on the next video. Let's kill some more bosses.